Hi. Oh, I gotta turn the screen around. Hold on. Hello. Oh, I'm looking a little messy today. Today's a messy hair day, I should say. I'm even showing my roots. Hold on. I gotta tuck this down. Hi, Andy. How's it going? How are you? This was my Ozzy Osbourne prom hair last year. We had a what do you call it? We had a goth prom last summer here on Kauai with some friends, and this was my wig. It made me look like Ozzy Osbourne. It was really intense. So I'm pulling out all the stops. Messy hair. Whew, here we are. Oh, Kelly, I think I saw you sneak in here. Hope everyone's doing well. Sorry for the pause. I know, wow is right. Hope everyone's been having a good week. It's been great here. We have been having some really great weather. We're very fortunate here on Kauai that we can... thank you very much, Andy. Cheeky Card Company. Hey, I really want to do a quick shout out. I have a post coming. I just haven't posted it. We've had to realign some of our posting, but a new stationery company that had reached out to me in December. This Cheeky Card Company, which is right there on the screen. It's big for my finger right there. She was really sweet, and she sent us, and I'm assuming other businesses, little stationery care packs that we can give away or use. And so we've been including little stationery gift sets in a lot of our care packages that people have been ordering. So we appreciate that. It was really nice of her to do that. So especially for someone who has never even ordered, but you're on our list, like I keep saying, the orders to order when we are able to reorder. So that was a little shout out. Oh, and if you saw today's Instagram post, I'll get to the book reading. I'm just stalling because I know a few people. Oh, there's Katie. We have a few people who are regulars who are not in here yet. But if you saw today's Instagram post, it was a picture of Willow and some candles on the ground. Those are the Saint candles. Last time we talked about our friend Scarlet River, a.k.a. Dirty Lola, who makes those really amazing Saint candles. And Dolly Parton's one of them. And since we are reading Dolly, My Life and Other Unfinished Business, I had to do a little shout out. One of our local artists, friends, and local in California. But at this point, we're all pretty local. This earth is pretty tiny, we're learning. And, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. So, okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it. We are now in Chapter 13 of My Life and Other Unfinished Business. This biography, for those of you that are new, came out in 94, I want to say the jacket said. I read it back in 2003, I think, and it was great. It was one of my favorite books. And I actually never told this story, how I found this copy, because this book is out of print. I think you can get it on Amazon. But I was visiting our former store manager back in Maine, and there was a coffee shop there where they sold books. I know there's a lot of coffee shops that do that, but it was just a different kind. I can't even explain it. But we were in, and I was just browsing the books, and there it was, sitting on the shelf like a beacon, like a heavenly beacon of golden light, kind of like what's behind her now. So I was able to buy it. It was $4. I've always loved this book, and I was stoked. Oh, hi, Nicole Marie. How's it going? I hope you're all doing well. So yeah, that's how I came upon this book again. So now I'm just excited that I can share it with you. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to start. I'm rambling on. I've got a bad wig hair today. I don't know how you girls do this with all this hair. Trying to figure out how to tie it. And I had to flip my head back and forward several times. And it's now starting to come in front of my face. I feel like this is a side bang. And since I guess we have a daughter, we have to kind of figure this out quick. So she's only 2, doesn't have much hair, so we're still got a few more years, I think. Anyways, okay, here we go. Chapter 13, Dolly, My Life and Other Unfinished Business. You can watch. Nothing happens usually on the screen. Or you could prop me up somewhere and just listen. You could put me on your Sonos speakers and blast me through your houses or your office if you're the only one. So, in your office. Just either way, we're doing this to entertain and have some fun. Keep it curious, just like we are normally. Okay. Chapter 12. We've had some longer chapters. Chapter 12 was all about... I feel like I keep saying Chapter 12 was the year after Porter Wagner, and it was true, it was another year, but it was more about her friendship with her friend Judy, the way she kind of takes care of all of her family members. She took in some siblings, not because her parents couldn't take care of them, but just because that's who she is. She's a caring person. I'm going to have some coffee. But that's kind of where we're at. And everyone has... Oh, and they got a dog. The dog died. Such is life. The dog meant a lot to Carl, Carl's her husband, so if you hear that name, that is her husband. So, here we go. We're just going to dive right in. I'm losing people, I could tell. Here we go. Even after our so-called... And I do my best, just a side note, I do my best to try to look at the comments as they're coming and answer if possible. But, yeah, here we go. Even after our so-called adopted kids, my brothers and sisters... They began having kids of their own, except for Floyd, who has never been married. And me, the Partons are a fertile bunch. Carl and I continued our roles as surrogate parents of sorts. The question arose as to what the so-called grandchildren would call us. Of course, they have legitimate grandparents on both sides. I didn't want to take anything away from those relationships. I came with the names Uncle Peepaw and Aunt Granny for Carl and me, respectively. I love my little nieces and nephews just as if they were my grandchildren. Sometimes people ask, why you let them call you Aunt Granny? Let them, I say. I make them. I have never been pregnant, and I haven't either, just in case you were wondering. I have never been pregnant. I don't know what that feeling is like. I think God has different purposes for different folks, or for different people. Some women are meant to be mothers and grandmothers. I was meant to be Aunt Granny. Outsiders will still try to create drama or guilt where none exists. They will ask, why didn't you adopt? They don't know how special and fulfilling my relationships with my brothers and sisters and kids are. Oh, we have a special visitor. It's been a while, but here comes Willow. She's become a wig snatcher, so I have to kind of keep my head at an angle.
She's a wig snatcher.
Say hello, Willow. Say hi, aloha. Oh, yeah, she really likes reading the book.
Oh, yes.
So we'll let her sit here with us for a few minutes. Hi. Okay. We're going to read a little bit. Here, get up here in my lap. Okay. Okay. This probably won't last long, Bryce. The kids you see, as I really am, this is live, folks. She really wants to read to you all. I'm just gonna let her pretend to read. So give us a second. Bear with me. This is a fun little.
What's this?
We have a reader today.
Anything else?
Yeah. No, you can't wear my hair. I gotta wear my hair. I gotta get back to my readers or followers.
Okay, your followers. Sorry, fans. All you little fans out there.
They're actually more fans for Willow.
Oh, aloha, hui-ho.
Okay, guys. Willow she'll be back.
Top of the week to ya.
Oh, she wants some water.
Oh, look at those legs.
She'll be back. Don't worry. She always makes another appearance before the end of our little video. Okay, so back to it. I'll translate what she said. Her paragraph that she read was, why didn't you adopt? They don't know how special and fulfilling my relationships with my brothers and sisters and their kids are. But kids see me as I really am. The new generation grew up with my stardom and think of it completely normal. I can be totally comfortable with them. Let them see me without my makeup or whatever. They love Aunt Granny. They know the star. Dolly Parton, too. To them, it's almost as if if we are two separate people. They are proud that their Aunt Granny gets to put on all that glitzy stuff and play Dolly Parton. I was doing a better job of playing Dolly Parton these days. I had a new management, new producers, and I found a brilliant new band leader in Greg Perry. He had been a child prodigy from Wisconsin and had played and conducted at Carnegie Hall when he was just a teenager. He was good looking and educated and capable of anything. Not only did he play keyboards better than anybody in the world, he was a masterful arranger and producer. He really knew his music, and he could make mine sound pretty good too. Greg was a fascinating man, into computers long before everybody else had one, great on the phone and at getting things organized. On top of everything else, he was an expert wood carver. wood. I feel like when I say wood, I have to say wood carver. On top of everything else, he was an expert wood carver. I don't know why it just makes me laugh. And I know that's not a voice that Dolly Parton would use. It was as if he had a real need to fix anything and everything in my life, and there was plenty that needed fixing. He wanted to do everything for me, and I had never found so much in one person, so I let him. Greg and I became very close. I had never spent so much time with such a well-educated and knowledgeable man. He knew all about history, great art, and literature. He was a storehouse of information and great conversation. I let myself get completely wrapped up in him. Judy began to feel unnecessary and unwanted. I didn't mean for it to be that way, but I guess I had neglected my relationship with her somewhat. And I did depend on Greg for many of the things Judy had always done for me. Just so, if you're joining us for the first time, we're reading Dolly Parton, My Life and Other Unfinished Business, her biography. And Judy was her very, very, very best friend from high school. And lived with her for a while and kind of managed everything. Okay, so one day she came to me and said, "Sissy, I wish you well. I love you, but I feel like a fifth wheel around here. I'm going back to the military. I'm not really skilled at a trade. The benefits are good, so just wish me well." I did, and she left. She joined the service, the army this time. Life went along. I missed her, but I was happy. That was Dolly Parton's friend Judy. They've been friends forever. Judy left. But it's understandable. Back to the book. Okay. I felt like my music was being handled to the right. Oh, wait. I did, and she left. She joined the service, the army this time. She used to be a member of the Air Force. That's what she did after high school. For the first time, I felt like my music was being handled in the right and best way. Greg loved my music and my writing. I became to him as much as he was to me, but in different ways, for different reasons. He had found an outlet for all of his capabilities, a doorway to his dreams. Greg had a kind of little shy boy quality, and I was more than willing to be his mother. Oh, we've got some new joiners. I'm going to wave to all of you. Okay. I became to him as much as he was to me, but in different ways for different reasons. He had found an outlet for all his capabilities. Oh, Karen, thank you so much. That's very nice of you. I appreciate that. This is the wig for the day. I'm very distracted today, folks. Very distracted. I think we ordered some coffee from one of our favorite mainland coffee shops, Phil's Coffee, and it arrived yesterday. And I feel like it's hyper caffeinated, and I'm having some today, so I'm just like loaded up. But anyways, we're going to focus on the book. Focus on the book. Okay. He had found an outlet for all of his capabilities, a doorway to his dreams. Greg had a kind of shy little boy quality, and I was more than willing to be his mother, his mouthpiece, whatever he wanted or needed. I even had his name put on the Vegas billboard. The Dolly Parton Show, Greg Perry, musical director. A well-deserved title. In the meantime, Judy was unhappy in the army. Her father was desperately ill, and her folks were having a hard time financially. I could pay her more than the army ever would. I wanted to help her, but what could I do? Turn to Don Warden. That's what, as usual. He was able to get Judy a hardship discharge. Of course, she deserved and needed one. But you can't depend on the military to do something just because it makes sense. If it had taken an act of Congress, Don would have had both houses voting on it by noon the next day. God, I wish they would do something about that today. We need some small business support. But I'm not political. I'm just reading the book. Judy had fallen in love with somebody she met in the army. Now that she had somebody, Greg didn't seem to pose as much of a threat to her. They became friends and were able to work together quite well. With my new management under Sandy Galen hitting on all cylinders, my career was really coming into focus. They had me on the cover of every magazine in the country. I began to receive a lot of movie scripts, but most of them didn't seem right for me. I didn't consider myself an actress, and I still don't. So I didn't want to do a film where I had to carry the weight of an entire project. Then Jane Fonda sent me the script for 9 to 5. Jane and Lily Tomlin were already set to play their parts, and Jane thought I would add the perfect ingredient to the mix. She is a smart businesswoman and was very upfront about the fact that she thought I would help the film do well in the South. I was still reluctant. Sandy had no hesitation whatsoever and simply said, "Do it." But I'm not an actress, I argued. Not all not all sure. Then don't be an actress, said Sandy. Be yourself. This part is exactly like you. Just be yourself. I took his advice. I'm very glad I did. As it turned out, it was the perfect role for me to break into the movies. I had no idea how films were made. I assumed it was done like a play. At least what I knew of how a play was done. I assumed we would start at the beginning and shoot it in order. I wanted to be prepared, so I took the script that had been sent to me and memorized it. Not just my parts, but the whole thing. I wanted to know everybody else's part too, so that I knew exactly what was going on and how to fit into it. Of course, when I arrived for the first day on the set, I immediately learned that the entire script had been rewritten and that it would not be shot in order. Lily and Jane had a good laugh at my expense when they found out I had committed the script to memory. So I didn't tell them. I did the same thing with the new version I was given. That's pretty remarkable talent on a side note. That's pretty darn cool. The whole experience... Oof, I know we're not supposed to touch our face, but this darn wig is getting in my mouth. This side bang. Whew. Judy began to feel unnecessary and unwanted. I didn't mean to... Oh, wait. Oh, here it is. Judy's not feeling happy again. Okay, Greg and I became very close. I had never spent so much time with a well-educated, knowledgeable man. I feel like I just missed something. I did. I skipped a page and went back in time. Of course, when I arrived for the first... Oh, wait. Blah, 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 blah. Skipping ahead. The coffee is darn kicking in. The whole experience of doing 9 to 5 was as much fun as I have ever had with two women. It made me wonder what had taken me so long to get into the movies. It whetted my appetite to do more. The director, Colin Higgins, was an absolute pleasure to work with and taught me so much. Of course, I was rather like a blank slate where the movie business was concerned. I couldn't have a more caring and knowledgeable hand to be the first to write on it. Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin are two consummate professionals. Hi, Gina. We have Gina from Soul Baby just joined us. Hope you're well. We're reading Dolly Parton, My Life and Other Unfinished Business. We're right now in the chapter where she starts becoming a famous movie star. I couldn't have had... Okay, Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin are two consummate professionals. Our personalities seem to work very well on the screen, but it is a wonder they worked in real life at all. We are three very different women, but we worked wonderfully together and had the greatest time, partly by learning and about how different we were. Lily is not a morning person. In order to make the most of the daylight, movie shooting schedules begin very early in the morning, and Lily would show up looking like something the cat dragged in, and act like something he was sorry he did. Jane is a morning person, but would often do her now famous workout before coming to the set and would show up in workout clothes and basically looking shabby and sweaty. She is, after all, an actress. If she arrived wearing street makeup, the movie makeup artist would only have to remove it to apply the screen variety. It isn't really a practical thing to do. That didn't matter to me. I don't care what time of the morning. I have to be somewhere. I would not leave the house at gunpoint without my makeup and hair being done. When I first went to California to do the ABC TV show, there was an earthquake very early one morning. Judy panicked and yelled at me, "We better get out of the house!" I got as far as the front hallway and saw myself in a mirror. "If this house is coming down," I told Judy, "it's just going to have to fall on my ass because I'm not going outside looking like this." This is in part, I admit, out of the vanity and in part because I feel like if you are a star, you owe it to your fans to look like one. Dolly Parton always looks like a star. If you're joining us, we had a lot of joiners just now. Dolly Parton, My Life and Other Unfinished Business, the biography. This is in part, I admit, out of vanity, and in part because I feel like if you are a star, you owe it to your fans to look like one. I can remember being very disappointed at meeting celebrities I had always admired and finding them looking like unmade beds. So I would arrive at the set at 5 a.m., completely made up in coiffure, wearing my heels, my bangles, and my best country girl smile. That is what prompted Lily Tomlin to remark on the third morning, "You know, you make it really hard for a person to be a hateful old grouch around you." Could you at least hold back on the perkiness, say till around at least 10 or so? And could you lighten up on the makeup until at least 8 o'clock? There was one day where I got a laugh that made just about the whole year. Jane and I had been looking, as girls do, at the different men on the set, saying who we thought was cute. Jane sort of sighed and said, I haven't seen what I consider a real good-looking man in a long time. Then her eyes lit up. Wait a minute, she grinned. Here comes one now. Then she added in a kind of, I'm joking, but will scratch your eyes out if you test me way. And I saw him first. I looked up at the man and said, oh, you did you? I was laughing my butt off inside, but biting my lip. The man was my husband, Carl. He is very handsome, a tall, Marlboro man kind of guy, and he looked especially good that day. He had mentioned to me that he might come by the set. He made out like it was to visit me, but I knew he had a crush on Jane since he saw her in barefoot in the park many years earlier. I knew that he just wanted to see her. He didn't necessarily want to meet her because he doesn't like to bother anybody. Naturally, he walked over to us and Jane started writing and chatting with him. I let her go until I couldn't stand it, and I said, Jane, I'd like you to meet Carl Dean. She shook his hand with him, not really grasping what I had said. Do you two know each other? She asked, hoping I would say no. Oh, we've just been married since 1966. I said, trying to be as cool as I could. Jane nearly died laughing from embarrassment. Carl, of course, was flattered. He got to talk to Jane. He still carries a little torch for her to this day. There are a lot of people back home who don't share his admiration for her. It seems they never forgave her for speaking out against the Vietnam War. Once on stage, I was talking about 9 to 5 and said something like, and Jane is such a veteran. The crowd began booing and I tried to pretend it had been a joke. I guess veteran is not a good choice of words for Jane Fonda, I said. She was scheduled to appear at Dollywood a couple years ago as a celebrity guest. That's when I realized how prejudiced people still are about her. I understand how these people feel. But I also know Jane is a sincere person, a very professional woman, and a special girl. She gave me a great break on 9 to 5, and she was also very good to my sister Rachel when she gave her the part of Dora Lee in the TV series. Jane will always be special to both of us. That day on the set, after talking to Carl, she came over to me and asked, what did Carl mean when he said that you're an angel? I didn't know what he had said, but I was naturally dying to hear more. Jane went on. I was telling him, oh, my husband Bryce just came on, even though he's in the other room. Welcome to the reading, Bryce. I didn't know what he had said, but I was naturally dying to hear more. Jane went on. I was telling him how sweet you are and how easy you are to work with, and he said, well, she's an angel. I kind of laughed and said, yeah, she is. But he looked right at me in the eye and said, no, you don't get it. She's a real angel. I was flattered and honored that Carl thought that. It's just like him to say it to somebody else, figuring I'll never hear about it. He sees me go through a lot, and I think he admires the way I handle it. I do depend on my angels and the angel spirits. We have to try to see through the eyes of God and find that part in people that is good, that is God. I don't always succeed, though. People ask me, do you ever run out of patience? Are you ever rude to people? Sometimes I am. I hate it when it happens, but it seems like some people just try to get on your nerves. There are times when I feel like saying something like, why don't you get out of my face, you ugly woman, and take those bratty kids with you? But at times like that, I usually get all flustered. I get confused and say stupid stuff like, kiss my ass, that's what you are, and then don't think I can't do it. When I said earlier that the whole experience at 9 to 5 was a joy, I should have excluded one particular aspect of my involvement in the film. I wrote the theme song, also called 9 to 5. On the set while shooting the movie, I remember writing the song on the back of my script and using my fingernails to create a rhythm as I sang it. I would get inspiration for different parts of the song at different times. Anytime I started working it, the woman on the set would just naturally gather around to listen. My hairdresser would start clacking her brushes together in time to the rhythm I had set up. The script supervisor would chime in, slapping her clipboard in the time. Before long, I had created a whole section of backup singers made up of all the working women around me. Because of what the song had to say, I thought that was especially appropriate. It was also a heap of fun. That helped me inspire me in writing the lyrics and made the song as special as it is. I gotta put my really bad bangs back. Oh, goodness. Hold on. If you're joining us, we're reading Dolly Parton's My Life and Other Unfinished Business. Her biography from the 90's. I think the coffee has slowly kicked in, and now I'm back to level-headed. I'm not all wired up. Okay. After the movie and the song had both been huge hits, it nearly stopped my heart to learn that I was being sued by some people who claimed I had stole the song from them. I thought the whole thing would blow over because it all seemed to be so ludicrous. I had never met these people or heard their song. They had once appeared at a Jane Fonda, Tom Hayden event where they did a song called Money or something like that, and it had something in it about working 9 to 5. The song had never been recorded on a regular label, although they claimed to have sold tapes that included the song through health food stores around parts of California. That's so ridiculous. The people were, for want of a better term, hippie types. Her name was Cosmic Danger. And I don't remember his, although I think it was something equally cosmic. Apparently, her mother had money and lawyers, and that was the genesis of a lawsuit. At first, I treated it as a joke, but before I knew it, I found myself in a real court of law answering very serious questions. This kind of allegation is about the most humiliating thing a songwriter can endure. Even if you know you are innocent, there are always going to be a few people out there who will think, well, Dolly stole those poor people's song and made a fortune out of it. They never claimed that I stole the song directly. Their contention was that Jane Fonda had taken the song and given it to me to rewrite for the movie. That is preposterous. For a number of reasons. Jane Fonda would never approach a professional singer such as myself with a tape and say, hey, do something with this. She would have more respect for my talent and integrity. When all was said and done, there were only 5 notes that they claimed I had copied from their song. Naturally, those 5 notes had been used in other million songs. There are a limited number of notes after all, and they do tend to get reused. Even after I had definitely been cleared of any wrongful doing. Sorry. Where'd that yawn come from? Even after I had definitely been cleared of any wrongful doing, they still tried to appeal the case. They claimed that the court had been starstruck because I had used a guitar and sang on the witness stand. After all of the embarrassment of that nerve-wracking experience, the people who sued me had the brass to try to get me to record some of their other songs. I have never understood that kind of gall. Greg Perry had produced the hit 9 to 5, but Mike Post often got credited for it. Mike had produced the album 9 to 5 and Other Odd Jobs. Greg, as my musical director, naturally worked with Mike Post on the album, but the two of them did not gel musically. Mike is a dear friend as well and a wonderfully talented man. He only wanted to help. Greg was disappointed that he was not able to do the whole album, but Mike Post was a big name and the label wanted him on it. It was their money. Such is the nature of the business. Still, my relationship with Greg left me caught in the middle, as it would often. Greg was doing so much that he needed a secretary. We were able to find someone extremely capable, Susie Glickman. She still works for my organization today. I do wonder, because this book was written in the 90's, if some of these names of people are still around. Susie is a whiz at organization and attention to detail. She and Greg both played tennis, so they hit it off quite well, and soon became great partners and friends. Judy and I had more time for each other now, with Greg and Susie managing things so smoothly. We were able to take our trips together and felt good again. We were all spending a lot of time in LA now. After all, we were in the big time, the movies. Susie had grown up in Los Angeles and knew all the good places to go and things to do. Life was good. I was spending so much time in LA. Oh, we've got some viewers. I'm going to wave to all y'all. Hi. We're in chapter 13 of Dolly, My Life and Other Unfinished Business. She just finished filming the movie 9 to 5, which was her breakout role in movies, courtesy of Jane Fonda. I was spending so much time in LA, it was obvious I needed a place there. I was tired of hotels and they were really running into money. I had met two wonderful ladies, costumers on 9 to 5, named Shirley Stram and Thelma Poofle. Thelma Poofle. Again, I might be butchering some of these names. I apologize if you're watching and you know those people. They heard I was looking for a place and said, "Why, shoots! We own a small apartment building right off the Sunset Strip. Come live with us. It'll be fun." I did rent a place from them. It was fun. They really made me feel at home. And we all had some funny, crazy times together. They were like my LA family and helped me to feel secure in the big city. Judy's lover had gotten out of the army by now, and they moved in together in an apartment next to mine. It seemed all really cozy and family-like. It was, for a while. Judy began having problems with her living because I felt so protective of her. That was a problem for me. I felt the way Judy must have felt during the worst parts of my Porter Wagner period. Esther's shop. Thank you. Fancy hair for the day. I thought that she deserved a whole lot better than the way that she was being treated. She paid dearly for our friendship. Her lover was jealous of the time she spent with me, her devotion to me, and my career. Now I was the one who had to pull back. Greg and Susie were tight, and he was also dating one of my backup singers, Anita Ball, another wonderful and special friend. Everything was going well for them. Judy was a wreck, but apparently determined to make a go of her relationship. For the first time in many years, I felt alone. I didn't want to whine to Sandy about what seemed like such pretty things. We've had a bunch of viewers in the last couple seconds. I know I just said it, but I'm catching them up. We are reading Dolly Parton's book, My Life and Other Unfinished Business. We are in chapter 13 today. So just join in or just put the phone down somewhere and listen. You can get back to your work and have a little story about Dolly Parton. Okay. For the first time in many years, I felt alone. I didn't want to whine to Sandy about what seemed like such petty things. I started to grieve a lot and eat a lot. I gained weight. I started to have female... Thank you. I had been taking... I gained a lot of weight. I started to have female problems, nerves and stress mostly. I gained weight. I had been taking birth control pills for years and was having some long-range side effects. I gained some more weight. Along came the best little whorehouse in Texas. The wonderful time I had on 9 to 5 had whetted my appetite for another movie. Whorehouse was a completely opposite experience. It was as if 9 to 5 had been my first lover, sweetly seductive before and gentle and caring during our lovemaking. Whorehouse, then, was a rapist. I was still relatively green in the movie business and didn't know that by the time I got involved, there was already what they called a lot of blood on the project. The people who created the original Broadway show had been weeded out of the mix by the movie studio and other principals had been fired. Burt Reynolds had become involved, and since he was in the middle of a devastating breakup with Sally Field, he was not in particularly good mood. On top of that, people were being fired right and left. In fact, at one point, there was a bumper sticker circulating around Hollywood that read, "Honk if you've been hired from the best little whorehouse." Burt was in pretty bad shape, emotionally and physically. Sometimes he would just walk off the set, unable to deal with things, and I would be called upon to go to his dressing room and try to cheer him up. That was a little like the blind leading the blind mice. Since I was in an emotional and physical turmoil of my own, we had come to love each other dearly, but neither of us were able to give the other much real support. Usually, he'd begin blubbering about his woes and I'd just join in. We'd sit and bitch and moan and sling snot until each felt so sorry for the other that our own troubles didn't seem so bad. Then we'd go back to the set and have our red eyes retouched. Excuse me. Excuse me. Woo! That came out of nowhere. Oh my God. Then we'd go back to the set and have our red eyes retouched and try to get through another scene or two before the cycle would start all over again. Bert and I got along about as well as two people in other situations could have, or in our situations could have. There were the inevitable rumors that Bert and I were romantically involved, and one day in an interview, somebody asked me if it was true. "Shoot, no," I said. Bert and I are too much alike to be involved. We both wear wigs and high heels. We both have we both have a roll around the middle. Well, Bert got wind of this quote and proceeded to give me a few of his own. "You're destroying the magic," he said to me. "How are people going to think of us as an item for the sake of this movie if we go around bad-mouthing each other?" Well, I hadn't thought of it as bad-mouthing, and I told him so. I was just trying to make a joke. I know that Bert is a good sport, and looking back on it, I'm sure he was just a little extra sensitive at the time. He must have gotten over it because a year or so later on talk show, I heard him use the same joke. Bert was always good to me. He took me to his dinner theater in Jupiter, Florida, and he had a fabulous painting done for me that now hangs over my fireplace in my music room. He has also been a doll about helping me at Dollywood. There was a scene at the end of the movie where Bert and Sheriff Ed Earl had to pick me up and carry me. They waited to shoot the last scene, and it was a good thing they did. The cameras rolled. Bert picked me up, and I could hear him groan. I was a real porker at that time, probably the heaviest I've ever been. Naturally, being the movies, they had to shoot the scene a few times, and each time Bert groaned a little louder. The week after the shooting ended, Bert was checked into the hospital to undergo a double hernia operation. I'm told he had been having problems prior to that, but I still couldn't help feeling a little responsible. So, if anybody ever asks me if I broke Bert Reynolds' heart, I have to honestly say that the damage was a little further south. Forgive me, Bert. I hope they're still working. Without meaning to, I added to the hurt feelings and confusion surrounding Beth's Little Whorehouse. Greg Perry wanted to do a movie. I felt guilty about not having been able to get him the 9 to 5 album. And wanted to do everything I could to help him. Oh, I feel like this is a better angle. I should just stay on this side. I'm just going to read this side. Usually on the other side, but I'll read this side today. When I asked if I could do some music for the film, I also asked if Greg could work with me. I knew that there was to be additional music anyway, not by the original composer and lyricist of the Broadway show. And I figured I might as well be the one to write it. I had great respect for the original music and thought I stood as good a chance as anybody to add to it without the new song sticking out like a cow patty in a pie contest. The next thing I knew, the musical supervisor of the film, Richard Baskin, had been fired and replaced by Greg Perry. I certainly didn't mean to cost the man his job. I had hoped we could all work together. We were all ultimately losers in one way or another. It was not a fun project for anybody involved. Not for Bert, not for me. Certainly not for Richard Baskin or Greg Perry. I still feel responsible for that situation and the pain it caused. Dear sweet Colin Higgins, the director, died of AIDS not long. Oh, sorry, we had paused for poor connection, so I waited. I'm going to read that line again. Dear sweet Colin Higgins, the director, died of AIDS not long after the project was finished. We all died a little when he went. I'd like to publicly apologize to everyone on that film for any ill will and hurt feelings I might have caused. Greg quit altogether. He told me he couldn't take the pressure and the BS of the business anymore. The joy had gone out of it for him, and I'm sure I was no picnic to live with at that time. I felt responsible and betrayed at the same time. I felt I had done all I could for him. He was put through hell on that project, though. Everybody was. I was devastated when Greg told me he was going to quit the business for good, go to medical school and become a doctor. His grandfather had been a doctor. I think it was always his second choice, but he has since become a fine doctor. I was crushed when he left, and it inspired me to write one of my favorite songs, What a Heartache You Turned Out to Be. Emotionally, my heart was bleeding. I was bleeding physically as well. I had to have a couple of D&Cs to control hemorrhaging. I was all nerves. I even started to drink some to ease my pain. I finally asked my doctor to tie my tubes so that I could get off the birth control pills. He did. Carl and I have never really wanted to have kids. I love kids. I'm crazy about them as long as they're somebody else's. People have often asked me about having children. I always feel guilty and selfish if I said I didn't want them. Sometimes I would just say I could have them, and that lie made me feel even more guilty. That guilt added to the other pain I was going through. In my mind, it was almost as if I had an abortion, having my tubes tied, not even consulting Carl about it. I was always having problems concerning my family. Some of my family members wanted to be stars in their own right, and I felt like they resented me. either for having done it for first or for not doing more to advance their careers. They seemed to feel that they were just as talented and smart, and that I was just lucky. And I agree. I tried to help them. I've always felt a certain amount of guilt connected to my success, and now it seemed it loomed larger than ever. It's hard when you want the best for everybody, but you also want it for yourself. When you care so much for people, you feel a sense of responsibility. It can drain the life right out of you. I had come to depend so much on Greg for support, and now he was not there. I had come to depend on Judy, and now she was completely caught up in her own heartache. I collapsed. It seemed that all of my support systems had disappeared. The very foundation of all my beliefs had been shaken. The dreamy little kid from the mountains had become a fat, delusioned, hopeless woman. Carl, as always, was loyal to me, but he is not strong when it comes to having my problems. He would cheerfully cut his own arm off with a dull knife if he thought it would benefit me. But when I'm ill or distressed in other ways, he doesn't handle it well. He knew I was physically sick, and that was enough of a burden on him without knowing the rest of my despair. For that reason, although I needed his love and support greatly, I didn't feel I could lay all my problems at his feet. This was something I was going to have to survive, if indeed I was to survive by myself. I had never ever felt so completely by myself, and for the first time I felt that being by myself didn't put me in such good company. I had never felt alone before. I had always had God. After all, I had searched for him and finally found him that day in the old church at Catton's Chapel. I had always thought of him as my friend and constant fortress, my loving father. I had always heard the voice of God guiding me along my way through life. Now pain and anguish ripped at my heart. Fear and doubt clouded my mind. I could not hear him. I wondered if even he had forsaken me. I questioned God. I argued with him. I remembered a story I had always liked about footprints in the sand. In it, a man asked God, this is getting very religious. In it, a man asked God why he sees two sets of footprints in the sand behind him. God replies that the second set belongs to him, and it says, I am always with you. The man then asks God why, at the times when his life is the most difficult, there is only one set of footprints. God answers, that's when I'm carrying you. I don't feel you carrying me, I rallied at God. It feels like the one set of footprints is mine, and they are stained with blood from the sharp rocks and glass I can't set beneath the sand. I prayed, but I could hear no answer. I asked questions and didn't feel like they were heard. I cried out in pain from the place deep within us that makes us human. In order to get in touch with that place, I felt I had to make myself so vulnerable that I might just die for no reason. I thought I had given myself reason. For the first time in my life, I understood how people could let themselves become dependent on drugs and alcohol. I understood how a person could consider suicide. I yelled and screamed at God, in ways that would curdle some people's blood. All right, this is it, I screamed. I'm going to blow my damn brains out if you don't give me some kind of help. But I had always believed that commandment, thou shalt not kill, applied to killing myself as well as somebody else. I did not want that skin on my hands, nor on my head. I had always been taught that sin against the Holy Spirit is not forgiven in the world or the next. Sorry, Bryce was blending up a smoothie for Willow. What was that sin? Was it suicide? Was I in danger of having a sin marked against me that would follow me beyond the grave? I demanded answers. What is this sin? I asked. Is it blasphemy? I've got to have some answer here. And what is it? I am. And what is this? I am. When you say that I am hath sent me, what does that mean? I began to feel that there was a real chance I could die before any of this was resolved. I decided if I were to die, I wanted to have read the entire Bible from cover to cover. So I began to do just that. I sat down and I started with Genesis and read straight through to the end of Revelations. It must have opened my lines of communication with God again, because somehow I began to get answers. Then, one night, somehow, I found peace in my sleep. And when I woke up, it looked like a regular day. The clouds that had been there, mostly in my mind, had cleared up. it became apparent to me that my life goes on whether you feel like being a part of it or not. I said to myself, get off your big fat ass and get on your life. Suddenly it all made sense. The sin against the Holy Spirit was the sin against myself, against my true personality. Here I had been given a gift and I wasn't using it. I had been greatly blessed with and was angry because the blessing hadn't come without difficulty. To sin against the Holy Spirit was a sin against the holy self. I found great peace and comfort in that. I saw two sets of footprints once more. During the times in our lives when God is carrying us, I suppose it's natural for us to be screwed up to realize it. I'm just glad he's more up to carrying than Burt Reynolds was. I am also took on a new meaning for me. The I period A period M period came to stand for Individual Awareness Method. Oh, my mom just joined. Hi, you're just joining us on the end of our chapter 13 today. We had a religious moment, which I speak of often in this book in one way or another. So I am also took on the new meaning. The I am the IAM came to stand for Individual Awareness Method, which I speak of often in this book in one way or another. It will have great meaning to me, and I hope many others before my work on this is over. The fog had lifted, the night had passed, the crisis had been handled, and I had grown from it. It takes a lot of strength to let yourself be truly vulnerable, and that is when you gain the most. I emerged from an 18-month ordeal as a stronger person, a better Christian, a better talent. I was a human being who had been melted down in the forge of torment and reshaped once again in the image of God. I became a rededicated to his service and to that kind of mankind, myself being a member of that body as well. You truly have to experience death to appreciate life. By the grace of God, I had done that without experiencing it in any physical sense. I remembered an old song that Buddy Klein had written with somebody that went, "What I've learned enough to truly live, or when I've learned enough to truly live, I'll be old enough to die." One doesn't have an experience like that without changing in some way. I will always be a little more fragile after that. It would be a long time before I would be able to love and to trust as I had before my nightmare began. But now I could love even more deeply. I also had a wagon load of forgiving to work on, and I had to start with myself. Meanwhile, I had let my band go. I had not worked in many months. I had not sung. I had not written. I had not played a guitar. Many people had given up on me. They thought I had lost my drive. It's okay to think that about Dolly Parton, but you better not stand in the road in front of her. I was about to come roaring back. And that concludes chapter 13 of our book, our continuing story from 1994 of, flip the camera around, Dolly Parton, My Life and Other Unfinished Business. That was a good chapter. That was a very good chapter. You know, it's funny. There's only like 16 chapters. Oh, come back in 2 days. We just had an encore. If you come back, so let's just get to that point. So it's every other day. So today is Wednesday. God, isn't it funny we have to think about that now? Yes, it's Wednesday. So Friday, same time, 10 a.m. Hawaii time, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, and all the rest of the time zones. I'm sorry, but you got to figure it out on your own. I can't give you too much. I got to save some kind of brain cells for something. Anyways, so yeah, come back on Friday, 10 a.m. Hawaii, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. But like I was saying, sorry, my nose is itching in this wig. Gosh darn it. It's a very good book. I forget how riveting it was, and I don't know if I remember reading the end of the book. So I think we're on uncharted territory as a group. If you stuck through it, I got a couple minutes before Instagram cuts me off. There's a couple pictures I want to show y'all. So this one thing. Okay, I have a complaint about this book and any other book. If you're going to include photos in your book, put them in order as the book goes. Oh, my natural hair color is showing. I gotta cover that really quick. If you're going to put photos in your book, like I was saying, put them in order as the book falls. I love Dolly Parton, but we are almost halfway through the book, and this is a picture of her and her husband Carl when they got married. But that happened way back here, like in chapter 6 or 7 or something. But either way, look, Dolly Parton, look at how cute she is. 19, I think it was, with her husband Carl. He's handsome. Let's see what Jane Fonda thought in him. Oh, and then there's her husband Carl as kid. See, we could have looked at these when that chapter was happening. Look at him. Oh, and there's her husband now, all dressed up. He's still a looker. I mean, that was then. I don't know what now is. And there is him playing jokes, because he, you know, what do you call it? Like to play jokes. Oh, there's the next book, there was a question of, I don't know if people are going to find it as involving, but we're going to read Carrie Fisher's last memoir or book. And I think it's set up, if I'm not mistaken, as like short stories. So it won't be a hard read. It'll be an easy read. And then we'll go from there on the book after that. And I'm trying to work on some really fun tricks for that book. You know, since we're reading, I felt like reading Dolly Parton, we should have wigs. For Carrie Fisher, we should have something more Carrie Fisher. And if you are confused at who Carrie Fisher is or forgot, she was Princess Leia. Oh, the screen is all freezing and all of that. Oh, it's coming back. Okay, let's see if there's any more quick pictures. Oh, we years ago, a while ago had looked at, what do you call it? The Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, and Tammy Wynette. They had an album called Trio. We learned about that. They're there. Look at those ladies. The Grand Ole Opry, when she was on the Grand Ole Opry. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, Grand Ole Opry ladies, she called it. And my favorite fact that I like to tell everybody is that the Pointer Sisters were the first African-American group to play on the Grand Ole Opry. It's pretty sad that they even limited people, but they did. Oh, here's a picture from today's chapter of Burt Reynolds. There's Burt Reynolds and Dolly on like a tabloid of Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, which I've seen that movie, and it is a good movie, but once we read this chapter today, it gives a lot of insight, because it's a happy movie, but it's also not a super exciting movie. A very dark time in Dolly Parton's career. Oh, this is the picture that Carl, her husband, you know, the jokester, wanted people to run in the tabloids about her pretend affair with Burt Reynolds during that movie. Okay, so, oh, yeah, I think that's all you know, we've finished chapter 13 today. We've got chapter 14 to look forward to on Friday. It was a roller coaster of caffeinated energy today. I felt like that coffee hit me. It might have been some CBD oil that was mixed in with it, but I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to lie. Yes, it was. Because, you know what? You treat yourself to whatever you need to right now. These are some hard times. Take care of your people, though. Make it good. Oh, side note. See, we are back to being all over the place. If you have missed any of these chapters, you can go to youtube.com/Curious Workshop and watch the last 13 chapters, or listen to. Again, prop me up somewhere. Just listen to this. Do your cleaning, do your yoga, do your whatever. Do your landscaping at home, your manscaping, ladyscaping, whatever. You don't have to be watching this screen. What I'm getting at is you can catch up on all these chapters. They're about 45 to 52 minutes. This one's a long one because we're rambling. But yeah, youtube.com/Curious Workshop. That's CuriousWorkshop. We'll be back Friday. Hope you've all enjoyed it. I see some people have tried requesting to be in the live video. We will do some probably interacting, jumping in on the screen at the end of the book before we start our next book. So, yeah. I'll see y'all later. Oh, you're very welcome. You have a great day.